I saw, you have the ability of writing comments in The Australian which surprise your readers. For example, some time ago when you allowed the possibility of Donald Trump coming back, this was before it was generally accepted that he would, and he had that possibility of winning. And I think you were more open about that than most other writers. I saw him the other night. He was being interviewed by Mark Levin. I don't know if you saw that, but I thought he came across very well and very persuasively, and he's obviously in far better health than the present president.
Yes, that's certainly true.
He reflected on his foreign policy, and I think his foreign policy was very good. He did seem to achieve, he didn't get involved in any wars, and he also reflected on his domestic policy, particularly making America energy independent. Did you see that? Were you impressed?
No, look, I didn't see that particular interview. I missed it. I saw snippets of it, but certainly his mental ability is far greater than Joe Biden's. That's very clear. He's still very sharp, and I think the interesting point here is that in October and November he was completely written off. Basically, his chances were written off. He was mocked for running for the nomination. Everyone was basically saying it was going to be Ron DeSantis, and then very quickly, as we moved into the new year, the polls moved very quickly in his direction, and I think the media was slow to pick up on that, and I think the reason is because they didn't want it to be true. At least most of the media did not want it to be true. I think it's only been realised in the past couple of months that, I mean, he currently at least has a gridlock on that nomination. Whether you look at the polls or the betting markets, I mean, he's double-digit points ahead of Ron DeSantis, whose popularity has been falling. So, I mean, he's an extraordinarily good politician. You have to give him that. I mean, he's a bulldozer. He's a political bulldozer. And we're seeing the same thing again now. We're seeing people say, oh, yes, but, he definitely can't win the election in 24. Well, that's just obviously not true. I mean, he certainly could win the election in 24. And, you'd have to say it's at least 30% chance, and 30% is a lot. Right? And I would say if there's a recession next year, a bad recession, which is quite possible given the series of rapid interest rate increases, then the timing could suit him very well. I mean, because as we know, when there's a recession, people vote against the incumbent. And if that's the case, he may well win. And then, of course, now you've got this other factor of Robert F. Kennedy running on the Democrat side, which I think could cause enormous damage to Biden, because Kennedy is already polling 20% amongst Democrats, and he's barely even started the campaign. That's very embarrassing for Biden, and I assume that that's going to go up to a third of Democrats. And it's of course highly unlikely that he'll win the nomination, Kennedy, because he'll have the whole Democratic apparatus against him. But if he then decides to run as an independent, I mean, which he may well. I mean, he's a wealthy man. He has a lot of support. He's got a famous surname. You could have the situation in 24 where you have kind of a Ross Perot situation where there's this third-party candidate who steals a lot of votes from the Democrat president, or of course in the past it was from George H. Bush, but and you have the Republicans win, and it could be Trump. So I think a Democrat should be very concerned kind of about the lay of the land at the moment politically.